Chris Cox here for a Van Halen lesson for Feel Your Love Tonight. This is off of Van Halen I. The tuning for the video, and if you want to play along with the record, is a half step down from standard. So let's go ahead and go over the intro riff. I'll play that slowly for you. Doesn't sound too great played slowly like that. There we go. So we're going to break this main intro riff down. This is a huge part of the song, so once you get there's mainly really two main riffs of the song, and then there's a couple things here in the verse, but overall the rhythm guitar parts are repetitive throughout the song. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go from the 3rd fret of the low E to the 4th fret of the low E, and we're going to go, and then we're going to hit this note, which is an E note on the 7th fret of the A string. Now when I do that, a little bit of vibrato there, or a little bend down before you go into the riff. Now the low E in this riff is you're basically going to be going back and forth from the open E to what you're fretting on the A string. So when I hit the low E, 5th fret of the A, low E, 4th fret of the A, low E. Now before we go back to the 5th fret of the A, we're going to hit 2 downstrokes on the low E. And that's going back from the 5th, 4th, and 2nd fret of the A string, and in between that you're hitting that low E. And then we go back to the 3rd fret and 4th fret on the low E, and then we go back to the same thing. It plays exactly the same. And we're playing this. So we're playing this as a chord, so the A and the D string are being plucked together. So that's a 7th fret of the A, 6th fret of the D, and that's considered a major 3rd interval. Now we're going to shift down a whole step to the 5th fret of the A string, 4th fret of the D string. Play that, and then we're going to go to the minor 3rd interval, which is going to be on the 4th fret of the A string. First finger is going to be on the 2nd fret of the D string. Then we're here at the 2nd fret of the A string, 3rd fret, 4th fret of the low E. Let's go over the first verse. So once we come out of this, back into the riff. Repeats again just like in the intro. Now all we're doing here, playing that A chord, we're going to put our ring finger on the 4th fret of the D string and our middle finger on the 3rd fret of the B string, and play all the D, G, and B string together. So it's going to go back to the 3rd fret and 4th fret of the low E, back to the A, and then back to the riff. Repeats again the same way. Riff here. Back to the original riff. We're going to bar our first finger across the 5th fret of the D and G string, and then we're going to have a ring finger here on the 7th fret of the B. We're going to play a... So I'm kind of hitting all those strings really, the D, G, and B. But when I go to this part, we're kind of pivoting back and forth to the D string. So I'm hitting the G and B string. So, alright, then we come up here to the 2nd fret of the low E, and I'm just doing a, so 1, 2, 3 on the low E, 2nd fret of the low E, and then we finish on the 2nd fret of the A, which is the B note. Now here I'm going to come down, and this is going to be right over the 14th fret on the A string. Now what you're doing, you're not coming to the middle of the fret like you would normally fret, you're going to go right over the fret, so you get a little harmonic there. Okay, so now we're into the first fill of the song. So we go back into the riff. It's a second verse is a little bit different, but it's pretty much it's the same fill, same kind of rhythm and everything. So go back to the A, same chord there where you got your ring finger on the 4th fret of the D. We're barring everything here at the 2nd fret with our first finger, and then our middle fingers here on the 3rd fret of the B. So A. Now we're going to do a little lick there. So you're hybrid picking here. So you're going to be plucking the D and the B string on the 5th fret. We're fretting here on the 5th fret of the D, 5th fret of the B, and then we're just going to kind of just slide into this. So once we pluck this one time, we just slide everything down. So you're taking your middle finger, sliding it down 1 fret, and then you're taking your first finger and fretting on the 3rd fret of the B string. So it's back to the A. Now we do this little lick. And all that is open A, 2nd fret of the D, and then the 4th fret of the D. And then we hit that chord again. We go back to the riff. Back in here. So a couple little subtleties there. Now, once we go into the pre-chorus again, it's exactly the same as the first time. harmonic. Then we're going to go into this. This is the chorus. And we're doing you're on the E power chord, so your first finger's on the 7th fret of the A, ring finger or pinky finger here on the 9th fret of the D. And shift everything down a whole step, 2 frets, and then grab the D fret. So that's 5th fret A, 7th fret D. Now from here, we're going to shift the index finger down to the 4th fret of the A. So we have, now you can tell just like before, we're playing that open E in between those chords. And I'm muting that. And then we do 2 downstrokes on the low E. Back to the D. So So now on the 3rd verse, there's a slight little difference there. So when we do go to the A, so that's the next little fill there. So all we're doing there is a 6th fret of the D, 4th fret of the D, and 2nd fret of the D, and then of course we're going back and forth from the open A. So, underneath the guitar solo, it's a bass, but the chords underneath there, if you want to create like a backing track for yourself, is an A, and it holds out, goes to an E, so that's A5 to E5, back to A, and then we're going to play a power chord at C sharp 5, back to A, and then the E, go to C5, D5, and then we end on the B5. Now, let me just talk about how the song wraps up as far as the rhythm guitar goes. So when we're at the end, so there's kind of like where the guys are just singing, there's no music. But when the guitar comes back in, we're at this riff. That plays a couple times through, but then the riff flips back to the original intro riff. And then that's how the song ends as far as the rhythm guitar. So let's go over the solo. So we're going to start here on the 14th fret of the G, and we're going to do a bend. So you're bending up, and you're going 14, 12. And then we're coming back to the 14th fret of the G, and then grabbing that 12th fret with the first finger on the 12th fret of the B. So now we're going to do that same bend again, but this time we're going to be grabbing this from, same bend's going to happen on the 14th fret of the G, but we're going to be grabbing this note, which is the 15th fret of the B. So when we do this, we're going to grab right here and bar across the B and high E string, E, B, you can do a little bend there. So let's got this so far. So after that little bend, back to the E, the B, So we're doing a little pull off here from 15 to 12 on the B string. And then from the 15th of the G, and that's going to be 15, 12 on the B string. And then we're going to finish that on the 15, 14, 12 of the G string. So we have this. For the high E string, doing a full bend. So when I'm doing this, I'm kind of rocking back and forth. So we're coming up and picking this, bringing it all the way up a full step, then we're coming back to the original note. And then we do that's a 17th, 18th fret. That's an overbend on the 18th fret of the high E. And then we're going to do, and that's 17, 19, 17 on the B string. Okay, then we're going to come down here, play this riff. So, we're doing first a pull off from the 12th to the 11th. So it's pull off, and then it's going to be 14, 12, 11. Pull off, 12, 11, 14, 12, 11. And it's a pull off. And then you're grabbing 14 on the D. And then you're going to come back and then pull off on the G from the 12 to 11. And then you're coming back to the 14, 11. And that's going to be 14, 11, 12, 14 on the D string. Once you play 12, 14, you're going to hammer on pull off from the 11 to 12. And then once you do that hammer on pull off, 14th fret of the A, 11th fret of the D. And then you're coming back, same pattern, 12, 14, hammering on from the 11 to 12 on the A string. Then ascend back to 14 of the low E, 11 of the A, and it's gonna, that lick's going to finish on the 14th fret. So to a nice little blues lick here. So okay, so we're doing a bend here on the 11th fret of the G. So bend up about a half step, grab here with your, kind of barring with your first finger over the 9th fret of the E and B string. So and it's just a 9, 12 of the B, 9 of the B. Just gonna play that twice. And the third time, you're going to do a little bend and a little bit of vibrato. Says, I think the most challenging lick of the whole solo. It's okay. So we go. Great lick though. So we're still kind of, stationary here with our first finger across the 9th fret of the B and E, and we're going after that bend. So it's a 9th fret of the high E, and then a pull off from the 12 to the 9. And then we're going to pivot back and forth from the 12th to the 9th. So 12th fret of the G, 9th fret of the B. And then we're going to pull off from 12, 11 on the G. And that repeats again. Now on that last part, we're doing a to end that lick. So that's just 12, 9th fret of the B, 12th fret of the G, 11th fret of the G, ends on the 9th. So we'll play the whole thing together. Okay, and that's what it sounds like up to speed. Now from here we're doing now you're going to be playing this as a chord, so you're bending here on the 15th fret of the B, and then you're anchoring here on the 12th fret of the high E, and then you're going to put your middle finger behind the 3rd finger so it gives a little help. Now you're doing that's just tremolo picking. So what you're doing there is going to be 14, 15, 17, 19, 22, and then a bend. So it's, oops. Okay, now from here we're going to come up and bar again off the 12th fret of the high E and B and play this. Okay, so the whole thing is going to be, let me play that whole part again. Oops. If I can play it slow. So that, play this, B, high E, bend up on the high E at the 15th fret, and then it's back to here again, and then the 15th fret of the B. And then we'll vibrato. Then we go. So this is here, 12th fret of the B, and you're doing a 15, 14, 12 on the G. So this is what we have so far. And then it ends with that pull off there at the 15th, 12. And then a double pick here on the B note, the 12th fret. And then you're coming back to 15, 14 on the G. And then when you come off that last part, pull off, ends on the 14th fret of the G. So now we come up here to finish the lick. We're going to be doing a bend here on the 6th fret of the B string. We're going to bend it up, bring it back down, and I just kind of drag my pick across that. And that's going to all occur on the 5th fret of the B, G, and D string. We're going to shift up to the 8th fret, play the exact same thing. Bend up, bring it back down, and then all that's going to happen on the 7th fret of the B, G, and D. And then we're going to finish on the 9th fret of the A string.